you go ahead and introduce yourself?
So I am Jeigh. I am a mental health clinician here at Cispire. Cispire is my private practice, but it is a mental health organization that we say for regular people and their people. The goal of Cispire is to work with people who are in intersectional communities, Black and Brown communities, and again, communities that are traditionally underserved when it comes to mental health work, providing equal access and equitable access and things that look familiar to provide mental health skill building for emotional clarity and stability and a better quality of life. I went to college at Southern Adventist University. I did my bachelor's in social work, and I did my master's in social work as well, but it was a dualist practice or generalist practice. So I did both administrative and clinical social work, as well as did an emphasis in emergency management and trauma. So through that education process, there was a lot to learn outside of just the school book knowledge, being able to connect to people, to cultures, unlearning what I thought I knew about people and culture, and learning not just how things are, but how things can be.
What advice do you have for students right now?
The advice I would have for students are multiple things. First of all, while you are in the house, there are changes that are happening. So there's like a regular flow, like a norm that you're used to. We're used to like rocking with life a certain way. We're used to hanging out with our friends, that kind of stuff. So just being aware that's changed, being aware that while you still might have contact, like on the phone, through social media, however you usually, get down after school at night when you're at home, but like all the time right now, right? So first recognizing that there's a change, and that change isn't just like physical, like, oh, I'm in the house versus being outside with my friends. The change is also emotional. So where you're used to getting like some time to vent or physically be around other energies other than your own or your family that you're like used to rocking with a certain way, that's also changed. So there's like a little bit of a grief there. When our bodies notice changes that take away things that are really normal to us, we can like get into like these spaces where we're trying to like make do, and that can be exhausting. So knowing that emotions will be high, emotions will be low, there are big, like the amount of conversation we have outside of our house, or the types of conversations that we're having. So just being gentle with yourself and knowing that there are changes happening, and not making yourself try to feel normal. Like this is not a normal time. And it's okay to go up and down and like today it's fine, and then like 5 minutes from now you're like it's not fine. That's okay.
What problems are you seeing most with mental health right now?
I would say as a whole, I've seen a rise of anxiety and depression over the last few years, year and a half, 2 years. It's become really spotlight, one of those like mainstream issues, which is good in some ways and not in others. I would say one of the biggest issues I'm seeing is that like need to explode, like that need to let things out. And I think we are watching people really start to take on some unique spaces to let out all of that pressure.
How can teens distinguish between being a moody teenager and one dealing with mental illness?
This thing is a little bit different because you're looking at frequency, you're looking at intensity, you're looking at duration, you're looking at the extremes of the highs and lows. Not the mental health illness thing is a little bit different because you're looking at frequency, you're looking at intensity, you're looking at duration, you're looking at the extremes of the highs and lows.
What can parents do to be more aware about the state of their teens'
People who are working with others, but especially with young folks, parents especially, like to be able to just listen and realize that what your kids are going through is not what you necessarily went through. There will absolutely be similarities. So being able to listen and not just assume why things have to happen. Understand the goal, listen, and then validate like where this person is at.
What are some tips or things that you think we can do in our daily routine to promote better mental health?
Using that concept of stop, drop, and roll, I think all of us can take time throughout our days just to stop, to pause, and to just not need control in whatever moment, but just to stop and like pay attention to what's around us, what we're feeling, to drop into our feelings and to be mindful of where we're at in a particular moment or time. And then like rolling with that space, rolling with what I can actually control in this moment. We can promote mindfulness, and that is a great way to give ourselves the opportunity to be transparent and vulnerable.
Potential risk and social distancing have regarding students' health?
I think loneliness is the key here. Loneliness isn't necessarily about being physically away from other people. Loneliness is also the perception of being able to feel connected in a community. Being a student, again, you're used to being around a lot of people. And so when you're used to that and that changes, and then you don't have the connection or the community that you're used to, that loneliness can cause us to choose to do things to get rid of that loneliness. And those things that we can choose can also be not as healthy. So I think student mental health can be really adversely affected through the decisions that come from feeling negative feelings with these spaces, especially loneliness.
How do you suggest that we stay on top of our workload?
Motivation can be a very tricky thing. So my advice to students is simply take it one step at a time and celebrate. Find a way to just celebrate little moments, break your workload into little moments. Just figure out what your learning style is and make space for that. So be gentle with yourself and recognize you don't have to be a star student.
I have one last question for you. What advice do you have for teachers who are worried that adding schoolwork to students' lives could potentially overwhelm them?
True is this experience is overwhelming, but I will say this, the job of a teacher, as we all are, like, is to teach. Teaching goes into life skills and so much other like life spaces, understood. Providing students the opportunity to learn is never a bad thing. Like there's tons of ways to connect. And I would say connection over like completion is the key for teachers.
Thank you for being so honest with these questions and so willing to answer them.
For taking the time to let me just be a part of this. This is great.